This has been an arguable massive launch when it comes to Zebec. The reason why I think so is because Zebec recently introduced the all-new Zebec Enterprise. I'll explain what this is in today's video, even though I first want to clarify, it's just a review. It's my outlook. I'm not telling anyone to do anything, and nothing I say is financial advice. Now, through this, allegedly, we take a look at how employees, contractors, and vendors, they're all in one platform for global payroll and HR management, or should I say human resources management. This is how impressive Zebec is. They've introduced a new platform, basically, which I think is a big thumbs up for me. What they're doing here goes far beyond a 24-hour price movement or a 48-hour price movement. They're actually caring more so about the long term. And if we think about it, this platform right here, if we consider what it's impacting in the case of employees, contractors, vendors, and how there's just one platform for global payroll and HR management, that's going to transform things greatly when it comes to Zebec, because now these large enterprises, if they take a look at something like that and they want, let's say, one place that doesn't confuse a lot of people and just makes things a lot more simple in the case of payrolls and HR management, this could be something that, again, enterprises do consider. So again, Zebec is not focused on, oh, what is the next hype or what's the next trend? That's not the case. And being focused on the enterprise market is such a genius move, I think, in my opinion, when it comes to Zebec. And I think showcases the moves that Simon, the CEO of Zebec, is making behind the scenes. Because the enterprise market, that's usually where a lot of the volume is at. The retail market is really impressive as well, but usually the enterprise market is where we see the actual real volume, because a lot of enterprises, they usually have the capital, the resources, the volume. They have all of that to kind of facilitate growth at a much larger scale. Granted, the retail market helps a lot too, but Zebec, they're already focused on that. They're already focused on the retail market through the cards and all this. We already take a look at the super app. They already have that. This is just the cherry on top. This is like being focused on another thing. So if we take a look at Zebec, they're focused on the retail market, but also the enterprise side of things as well. What I don't like to see with a lot of other projects out there is that in some cases, they're too focused on a certain thing. Let me explain what I mean by this. On paper, being focused on the enterprise market is really fantastic, right? But a lot of other projects out there, they're so focused on that, it's to the point where they completely ignore the retail side of things. But then typically, being focused on the enterprise market, it can take quite a while to gain traction. So what happens? The project tends to stagnate a little bit and just kind of have no real recognizability or notoriety, which also is actually a disadvantage for a lot of enterprises out there, because a lot of enterprises out there do want to know that the project that they're partnering up with or collaborating with has a recognition, someone, right? So being focused too much on the enterprise side of things, even though it sounds amazing on paper, it's actually counterintuitive in my opinion. But let's say on the flip side, some other projects out there, they're way too focused on the retail side of things that they ignore the enterprise side of things, which could actually inhibit them moving forward, especially for the long term. But when it comes to Zebec, they're taking a more diverse approach where they're focused on, of course, the retail side of things, but also the enterprise side of things as well. They're not locking themselves in. They're thinking more so about, hey, you know what? Okay, we can try to impact the retail market, but also the enterprise market too. A lot of other projects out there, they're so fixated on just one market, they completely ignore the other. But that's not Zebec. They're diversifying, I think, in a pretty impressive way in terms of their focus, fundamentally speaking. So yes, I'm totally aware that Zebec may never be the coolest or most interesting project out there, but Zebec has a partnership with Stellar, Ripple, Algorand. I mean, come on, right? That's so impressive for something of this size. I get it. People like to say, oh, who cares about Algorand? Well, here's the thing. Algorand, okay, it's not as popular as Stellar or Ripple, but Algorand has an aspect of ISO 20022. It's allegedly carbon neutral. And keep in mind, Algorand, quite recently, it was the third most mentioned blockchain in Google's quantum paper. The only two blockchains that were mentioned more than Algorand in that specific paper was Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Algorand being ranked number 3 within that, that's really impressive. And again, we take a look at how Zebec even has a partnership with something like Algorand in the first place. It's really amazing. And then to top it all off, you have a partnership with like Stellar and Ripple at the same time in the case of Zebec. Like, wow, that's kind of legendary. And also, not to mention, we've seen historically Zebec have somewhat of an integration, I would say, of sorts with Near not that long ago. I think sometimes people ignore this, but this is pretty impressive. And let me explain why, even though it happened like years ago. But I'm saying still, we have to consider the reason why this matters, even though it happened quite a long time ago, is because Near literally, allegedly, the last time I checked, makes up the largest percentage in Grayscale's decentralized AI fund. And yes, you maybe heard that right, because allegedly in Grayscale's decentralized AI fund, Near makes up a larger percentage than BitTensor's native token called Tau. And Tau, or should I say BitTensor, it's a very famous project out there within this space that's focused on AI. But Near, it's even having a larger percentage in regard to Grayscale's decentralized AI fund. So when people like to tell me, oh, Zebec's doing so bad, well, doing so bad in terms of what? In terms of the price charts? Okay, I get it. It's had around a 3% recovery in the past 24 hours, but if people want to consider this to be doing so bad, I mean, Bitcoin's also not doing good. Ethereum, Solana, BNB, and all this, it's not a situation that is only unique to Zebec. Literally, a lot of other projects are not doing good. And keep in mind, actually, for the category of an altcoin, Zebec is holding up pretty okay in a sense where, even though I don't think it's good, but it's pretty surprising for an altcoin because we take a look at, let's say in the case of Bitcoin, it's around 2 times lower than its all-time high, or over 2 times lower than its all-time high, I should say. But if we take a look at Zebec, it's around 2 times lower than its peak last year in terms of market cap. So it's holding up kind of as good as Bitcoin for whatever reason, percentage-wise. Pretty surprising, right? Especially if we consider how this is literally an altcoin. Bitcoin is not an altcoin. This is, though. And while a bunch of other altcoins out there are down like, around 6 times lower, or around 7 times, 8 times lower than its peak last year, Zebec isn't like that, which is kind of surprising. Take a look at Zebec's closest competitor called Onyx, which I'm a fan of, by the way, but Onyx is around 6 times lower than its peak last year in terms of market cap. Zebec is not. It's around 2 times lower. So it's kind of surprising seeing this, actually, in regard to Zebec. However, besides that point, when I see Zebec introducing the all-new Zebec Enterprise, where employees, contractors, vendors, where allegedly all of those aspects can be in one platform for global payroll and HR management, wow. I find that very impressive, and I think it's quite commendable what Zebec has achieved so far. But I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very amazing day.